6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Good evening to everybody. This is Stefano, Mazarin Geopolitics from Italy. This is just a fast update about the actual situation, economical and geopolitical. I have some news to share with you. Today it will be a little bit surprise live, so I hope that you will enjoy the content that I prepared for you. I prepared like one let's say big slides like to share with the actual geopolitical data and about the Russian export oil and gas, actual situation about inflation in Eurozone and Russia. And I wanted to share with you also some contents that it's interesting, like some rumors that I have from the last days from Italy, and it's very interesting for me because something that I was not expecting. Now we have with us Sadullah Faranzai, my friends from Afghanistan, and maybe there is some other that will connect later, but I don't know because it's something made last second. So I wanted to share with you only some data. So I hope that you will enjoy. So first thing I want to share with you one video. It's very fast. It's translated by we at Defense Politics Asia, so I have to thank him. And it's about Dario Fabbri, that is an Italian geopolitical analyst that it's sharing this idea that there is, let's say, a sort of, I don't know, mainly agreement between US and Russia. Let's hear this one, and then we will pass to geopolitical and economical data. Okay.
They will do so next year on the relation.
1 second, let me return back to the beginning.
The United States is asking itself a lot in these months, and they will do so next year on the relationship with the Republic. Russia, which is decisive for our non-European future without being too tragic. That is the war in Ukraine, of which the Americans have succeeded thanks to the heroism of the Ukrainian soldiers, but with their fundamental active contribution. The war in Ukraine would be over. Outside of Russia, they stopped Moscow from swallowing the whole country, but the race ended up in China's arms. Now the United States is wondering whether it should interrupt again to speak with Russia precisely to pull it away from the Chinese embrace. If this were to happen, many devices, we were saying it here too, it's been a couple of months ago. Many American apparatuses are leaning toward that idea on that reach. If this happened for the European Union, the relations would change again. Siena, the Ukraine conflict. Possible association in Ukraine and in European Union could become part of a compromise with Russia, both in general, in the relations of individual states with Russia, European countries that.
So, this was like the first content that I wanted to share. It's very interesting for me because it's not the first analyst that is talking about this. I think that after 2 years of war and the actual, let's say, stalemate, it could be a good idea also to convince the Ukrainians to make a compromise. And also the Russian public, I think it's a little bit not so happy of this long situation. Let's see about the economical data. And then if you have any type of question, just text in the YouTube comments, and I will try to answer immediately in the live. If you will send this comment later, I will answer later. But let's start with the data. So let me put, okay, no, I will switch off my face because it's better to see the data. So this is like the figure that we can see. It's about the actual situation of the weekly crude oil leaving Russian ports. We can see that the actual situation it's lower than 2022, but it's bigger than 2021. So more export of crude oil. Another interesting data, it's about who is importing more crude. And you can see that from mid of 2022, there is a huge increment of the import of crude oil, so not refined, from India. And actually in shares, we can see that the biggest importer of crude oil, it's not China, but it's India. Then we have China, then we have Turkey, and we have also an import about the European Union states that are not a part of the G7. The other part, it's like irrelevant now because there is there was like an European ban about the Russian oil from December 2022. We can see that the dark blue bar, it's like declining fastly, and at the end of 2022 there is no more imported from Russia in the directly in the northwest, let's say European Union Western. Okay, the other quantity of Russian oil that it's important in Europe, it's coming from the Druzhba oil pipeline, and the main countries that are still importing, we can see that are Slovakia, Czech Republic, Hungary, and nothing else. So this is like the 3 states that have no access to the sea, that are importing directly crude oil via the French pipeline, Druzhba pipeline. Before, we can see that the bigger importer of this crude oil was Germany before, let's say, December 2022. Another interesting thing, it's about the import of crude oil from China. We can see that technically from 2021 to January 2023, the quantity of oil to China didn't change, a little bit more in 2023, but not so much more. The country that is importing many more oil from Russia is India, not China. Another big switch that we can see, it's about the insurance company of the ships that are carrying the Russian crude oil. We can see that there is like a magic unknown insurance companies that switched from European G7 or Norwegian insurance company to, let's say, a little bit from Bermuda, and now the big majority, over 50%, is unknown insurance. So this data is interesting, but we will see later that the bigger port, let's say this month, about the import of Russian oil, it's not in China and it's not in India. So maybe this unknown insurance could be connected to some port in Asia, but we will see later. So, country origin of tanker, we can see that the tankers, the biggest part now, it's like from United Arab Emirates. So the visit of Putin and the Russia delegation to the UAE, maybe it's connected also to this one. And other, it's the blue part, the dark blue part, it's much bigger. You can see that China is it's not so big. And there is a new country on the list that it's the green, that it's Singapore. Let's see why it's interesting. So the European port for crude oil, we can see that, for example, it was very important for the Russian export Rotterdam. Why? Because you can carry the oil directly from the Baltic Sea and going to Netherlands. In the southern Europe, you have Cartagena, that is like Murcia in south of Spain, Marseille. You have like 3 big ports and import in Italy, that is Genova, Trieste, and Milazzo. and a lot of others, let's say in Turkey and Greece. But let's move the same data about the quantity of all the, let's say, Russian fossil fuel export, and we can see that the oil product and chemicals maybe didn't change. LNG, LPG, no big changes. Crude oil the same. Coal the same. What had like the huge drop in this amount of data? It's the pipeline gas, because now it's mainly nothing, and it's very damaging, like the revenue of Gazprom. Which one? It's not important. We can see the revenue. The revenue, it's like dropping off. There was like a little bit of increase after July, but we are seeing that the trend is going down. And the biggest part, it's like oil, and the part that was about gas, it's declining very much. Who is importing this material? We can see the material is imported, the Russian fossil fuel. It's imported mainly from the coal from China, India, South Korea. I will say the first three. Crude oil, China, India, European Union. Still European Union, it's importing the three countries that I said before, Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Hungary. LNG, European Union, China, and Japan. Pipeline gas, European Union, Turkey, China. Oil products, Turkey, China, Brazil. LPG, Turkey, European Union, Estonia. But in this chart, we can see like that the bigger importer of Russian fossil fuel in November was still China. The biggest part was crude oil. Second, Turkey. Third, India, European Union. But only the three countries that I said to you are important directly: Slovakia, Czech Republic, and Hungary. This is very important because we can see that the approach of these three countries, especially Slovakia and Hungary, is with a lot of influence of this thing. There is one other country that have a lot of influence from Russian fossil fuel import, that is Serbia. It's not in European Union, but we can see that it's very interesting what is happening also by the last election. Why I'm saying this? Because you can use in a political way also the export of oil and gas, and you can make it very cheap to your friends, and so it's a little bit of pressure, because Serbia now is importing in a very, very, very cheap way oil and gas from Russian Federation. So in the European Union, we say, let's say that the countries that are still importing, let's say the top five is Hungary, 50-50 crude oil and LNG. Slovakia, idem, crude oil and LNG. France, only gas by liquefied gas. Bulgaria, Czech Republic. We have to remember that before the conflict, the two biggest importer of gas and oil from Russia were Italy and Germany. And I remember to you that Italy and Germany are the producer of 50% of the sole production of the all European Union. This is very important because it was very important for these two countries importing oil and gas in a cheap way from Russia. So about, like, let's say Russian fossil, the import, we can see the big. I took out my face only like to show to you that there is like the big changes in November. It's that the biggest partner of Russia in export of material, especially about oil products, was Singapore. So this is a very interesting thing that could be connected also to the change of this unknown insurance company. Then we have like Turkey, India, Turkey, and still India. So in the first 5, let's say, companies that are importing from Russia. We have Singapore, directly the Republic of Singapore, and 2 Indian and 2 Turkish companies. So let's move to the next one. And I'm trying to make it as small as possible this live, because I wanted to make only a little update. Then we will make a new roundtable with a lot of let's say guests. I think after probably the 1st of January, let's see, or after the 18th of January. Let's see when it will be good. Probably after, I think, the 8th of January, there will be a lot of news. Let's see. So about the shipment of fossil fuel shipment from Russia, we can see that, like, the biggest importer, as I said before, it was India, with a huge increment, and of crude oil. About oil products, we can see that is others, but we had let's say we don't have a European Union anymore. We have a little bit of increment of Brazil. We can see in here in this graph. So price of oil, and we can see that there was an increment of the price of oil with a peak in October. Now it's going down and now I return back to the price cap of $60 for barrel. So it's not good, like, for Russian export. But another thing, let's see the economical data about European Union. And so we see the European imports of petroleum, oil and gas, natural gas, the second quarter of 2022 confronted with the second quarter of 2023. This is not a good thing, but because we are importing less, because there is not yet a recession for the Eurozone, but the growth, it's slower, determined by many factors, but also from the war in Ukraine. We can see that there is a reduction of the import of let's say oil and natural gas, and now, like, the majority of import, it's extra European Union, but excluded Russia. With the player where the major and bigger countries of European Union, except Hungary, Slovakia, and Czech Republic, are importing fossil fuels. So we can see about petroleum, let's say Russia has now 2.7% of the pie, the slice of the pie. The biggest player in Europe are US and Norway now. Then we have Kazakhstan, Saudi Arabia, Libya, and Nigeria. So Russia, that was probably the biggest exporter to Europe of crude oil now, of petroleum oil. Now it's like the last, and only for these 4 countries that I said to you in advance: Hungary, Slovakia, Czech Republic, and Bulgaria. And the natural gas in the gas state, the biggest player now, it's Norway, 44%. After you have UK, Algeria. Russia has like a small quantity. Before was the biggest quantity, over 60% of the quantity was Russia, over 50%. Now only 13.8%. And it's imported by the same 4 countries: Hungary, Slovakia, Czech Republic, and Bulgaria. And there is also 6% of Azerbaijan that it's exporting to Italy with a TAP pipeline. But the biggest part in quantities, like LNG, and the biggest partner of the European Union now, it's US with 47% of LNG. Then we have Russia, and then Qatar, Algeria, Nigeria, Norway, Oman. Let's go to the last part, and we are staying, as I said in advance, in less than 30 minutes today. So what I wanted to show you the inflation in Europe in the last decade, and I wanted to confront it with Russia, just to understand a little provocation of what is happening. So you can see that, let's say, the general inflation, it's like the purple line, and the inflation in Europe was mainly zero for many years. Let's say last from this scale, 2013 to 2021 was mainly zero. Then there was a huge shock about the price of the energy component of inflation before the war, because it started in September 2021, and you can see that it's going up, and now it's going down in negative. You can see that it's less than minus 10%. So everything dropped on over 10%. For example, the inflation went to 10%, and the peak was end of 2023, and now it's dropping down. For example, now in Italy it's less than 3%. So let's move to the forecast, and we can see that the forecast, it's like about a stable inflation between 2 and 3%, and it's dropping off in the next 3 years. This is the forecast of the European Commission. Let's see about the situation of the Russian Federation, and I made this graph for you just to understand what is like the impact of and the connection between the interest rate and the inflation. So we can see that it's very related, and actually the problem for the Russian central bank is that the inflation is going up, and probably is going up much faster, because they had to increase the interest rate from 7% to 15%, and you can see in the top part that the interest rate that drop off in the second phase of 2022, now it's going up and up and up. So it's not a good signal for the Russian economy. This was like the presentation that I made for you today. It was just a fast update about the economical situation and inflation that give you some confrontation between European Union and Russian Federation. I want to make some analysis and focus about the US election with some friends, also about Russian election. I will try to have some friends and academics that are expert about the Russian Federation election. Why this? Because next year we will have a lot of these events that are very important. So let's see what will happen in the next month. We will make an update for sure as soon as possible, with also a lot of guests. Thank you for having me, and that you dedicated some time for this stream. I say to you, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, Merry Christmas and delay, and I hope to make a fast stream the last day of December or the 1st of 2024. I hope that this situation will end soon with a good 2024 of peace and prosperity for all the population of the world. So still thank you so much. If you have any guest, any question, any request for the next streams, just write in the comments, and I will try to make the new streams just for you. I don't have any question now in the comments, so if you had some question about what I showed before, just put it in the YouTube comments, and I will answer to you directly. Thank you so much to everybody, and see you soon in the next streams. Ciao.